Hi guys, my name is Zara Mills and I am a leader of the Muckers Nation Equine Community Group at SRUC Oatridge College, and today I am going to show you how biosecurity works and how it has its own preventative measures for strangles and other diseases out there to raise awareness for Strangles Awareness Week. So come and join in and watch this video to learn some tips on biosecurity and how to do it properly, and come and watch so you learn some tips along the way. Strangles is one of the most common diagnosed outbreaks and infections of diseases in the UK. There's estimated to be around 600 outbreaks a year. Any horse can get strangles no matter what their height, age, breed or anything to do with them is. Any horse can get it, so making sure that if your horse does get strangles that your biosecurity measures are up to scratch, because it's important that you keep your horse healthy and sound so that you can get back out and doing what you love. Strangles is a highly contagious infection that can affect the upper respiratory tract of the horse, such as the nose and the throat, and it can lead to many complications. And these complications are illnesses that occur within the horse if they have strangles. This can be such as the nasal discharge, they could struggle to breathe, and they could also not eat, or they won't be interested in doing anything that they're normally interested in doing, such as like grazing, etc. But they can't graze because they'll have to be in quarantine as well. Strangles is caused by a bacterium called Streptococcus equi. Some of the clinical signs of strangles are if the horse has a sore throat, if they have yellow coloured discharge, and if they have a swollen head or throat, and they can also have a fever which needs to be above 38 degrees. This fever is accompanied by depression and not wanting to eat their food. And if the horse has a swollen head or throat, there are more likely to be abscesses and they'll be hot to touch. These abscesses will also be very painful for the horses. There's not really any tested treatments for strangles. The horse just needs intensive nursing and some rest, and in an isolation period. The isolation box should be dry and have a warm environment for the horse and make them feel welcoming, because they'll be in there for a long time. Another part of the treatment is that if your horse has a sore throat, or they have a head swelling or a throat swelling, it's important that you feed a soft palatable feed such as like a mash, because this can also be hot packed as well. Feeding a nice soft palatable feed such as like a mash will encourage the horse to eat, because some of them are actually really nice for the horses, and they also taste very good. I highly recommend the Spiller's Speedy Mash Fibre because it smells of cinnamon and apple, and I would eat it myself if I could. It's like hot apple pie during the winter. It smells amazing, and it also and allows them to eat nice and slowly because it's nice and slow. This just makes sure that they have something subtle and nice for them to eat, especially because when the horse has strangles, they've not always got an appetite, so you just have to have something there that's nice there, and it will encourage them to eat when they have their appetite back. Your vet should also come out to check your horse and when they're in their isolation period, and give them any medication that they'll need, such as antibiotics, to help with getting rid of the disease, especially as antibiotics will help get rid of the infection and will make sure that your horse is perfectly going to get back to normal. Not all horses may need antibiotics. It just depends on what your vet says and how severe your horse's case of strangles is. So when dealing with strangles, it's important that you make sure that your biosecurity is at top notch, and that you have to make sure that you've got all the right equipment here at your designated spot, and you have to have your own quarantine area, because it's important that when dealing with strangles you do not mix with other horses or other people that have been involved in the outbreak, and your yard should be in a total lockdown depending on how many horses they are. If the whole yard's got it, then the whole yard should be in a whole lockdown, or if it's just you, you should be in a quarantine stable just like this one here. So when dealing with strangles, it's important that you are in the right gear. You should always have overalls. I don't have a pair with me, but for the sake of the video, I'll just speak with what I'm wearing. But when you're actually dealing with a proper outbreak, you should be in overalls, and you should have these protective gloves as well. So before you go into the stable, before you touch any of the horse's stuff, or even like the stable itself, you should put these on to protect your hands. And also, when you go in as well, just before you go in, you should have a bucket or a feed bucket with disinfectant in it and some water, and it should be a foot bath. You should put your feet in it and make sure that your feet are clean, so that when you go in, that they're nice and clean, and prevent anything from happening, or just prevent basically like things spreading. It's just another like top tip that to make sure that you always make sure that your station is clean and everything that you're wearing is clean when dealing with horse or strangles. When you go in, and you should be fully equipped to make sure that when you come out again, you should do the same thing basically. You should do the same thing again. Wash your feet in this foot bath. Make sure that your feet are clean, the boots that have just been in the horse with strangles stable, and then you should have a bin, a designated bin for your area where you put the gloves in once you're done. When you're in this outbreak, you should have your own mucking out equipment away from the others. You should have it in your own designated spot, and you should make sure that once you're done with it, you should get a bottle of disinfectant. It can be any type like Flora. Make sure it's the animal safe one though, because some disinfectants are not safe enough for animal uses. And you'll just spray your like cloth or whatever you're using, your sponge, and wipe it down where you've touched it. You should also do the same thing for when you've touched the stable holes as well, or anywhere in the stable. Just spray, give it a good wipe, so that when the next action. Right. So once you've finished with your strangles outbreak, once you're finished with your lockdown, you have to make sure that the quarantine stable or the stable that you're using is cleaned properly. All the straw should be taken out, everything else should be taken out, and it should be disinfected properly and cleaned properly. Make sure you've got a bucket of water and some form of disinfectant or soap to make sure that you get rid of the infection and bacteria. So you've got to make sure so that the stable is perfect for when you come to use this the next time. You might have to use it, especially if you're in a livery yard, and if you're the only one that's had a strangles breakout and the quarantine stable is separate, you might have to use this for another time in case there's a new horse arriving, or if it's your own yard, you might have to use it if you have another outbreak. So it's important that you make sure that your stable is cleaned properly and that you've used the right products to make sure that you have cleaned this properly. So when you're going to clean this stable, you should make sure you have a bucket of water with a soap, as I've said previously. And what you want to do is you want to make sure, just for this video, pretend that there's water and soap in here. But you've got to make sure that you scrub the floor properly, so that basically all the germs that are on the dirt that have been on the ground have gone away. As I've said many times, it's all about making sure that everything's clean and that everything's preventive measures are taking place. You should also scrub everywhere, including if you have bars, walls, or any light switches, or even the hay rings up here. You should make sure that everywhere is scrubbed deep down, including all the nooks and crannies, so that, as I've said, preventive measures, you want to make sure that everything is clean. Once the stable is pretty much dry and you've cleaned it with soap and water, or a disinfectant type soap, and brushed it down, including the walls and everything, you want to make sure that you use a disinfectant for the final time. Now, you can use stable specific disinfectants, you can use Flora, or you can even use something like Jet Eyes fluids. And you should read the instructions on the back of them and use them properly, so that you use them to their most efficient and so that they work to their best standards. Go. You should also do the same to the outside. disinfect everywhere where it's been touched at the final clean after the lockdown or the quarantine process. Even doing things like the foot bars at the bottom, because you'll be touching them with your feet as well. So you're making sure that they're done too. And same the outside of the grid should be cleaned as well, just like you did in the inside. So you can also use powders that are got disinfectants in as well. This is SRUC. This is by VetSonic, and it's experts in your field for biosecurity, and it has also other benefits such as respiratory helps diseases like especially COPD, because it improves the quality of the atmosphere and the air in the stable. Used when horses are on box rest or in quarantine, such as strangles, because it helps get rid of all apply this powder to the surface and it gets rid of all the ammonia and all the dirt in the stable, especially if you're using it for hygiene purposes.
Oh.
And it also contains natural ingredients such as seaweed concentrates, vegetable absorbents and mineral absorbents and essential oils. So it smells lovely. It smells a bit like of lime, and I really like the smell of it because it brings a fresh smell to the stable. Right, ready?
Yep.
Even when your horse is in quarantine with strangles, you should have your feed in a bag or a bin like this. And you should also have it on the outside of your quarantine stable, because as I've said in previous videos or clips, you have to make sure that everything of your own is outside of here, so that you're not contaminating or cross-contamination with other horses or other people on the yard as well. And you should have a feed bucket as well, and you have a scoop in here of the feed, so that when you're ready to feed your horse or pony, you just go like this, and there it is, ready for them. Top tip: when you're at a show, make sure that you have everything of your own and do not borrow or do not let your horse be in contact with another horse, because this may increase their risk of getting strangles. If you're at a stay-away show and you have all your own stuff with you, please make sure that you have your own hay nets, your own water buckets, your own feed, and do not share with other people. Make sure that you have everything of your own when you're at a stay-away show, because if you share with other people, your horse might actually have a risk of getting strangles. But this can depend if there's an outbreak in the area, because some areas have outbreaks occasionally, and if these horses have outbreaks, you shouldn't really compete in those areas. You try and avoid them and compete somewhere else where there's an area without a strangles outbreak. That way you'll have less chance of getting a case of it and bringing it back to your yard. Another top tip: if you're getting a new horse, or if you've got a new horse coming to your yard, they should be quarantined for 2 weeks. This will make sure that they get rid of any unwanted illnesses, infections or diseases that they'll bring with them. Another top tip: even though it's not required by law, you should tell somebody or tell the owner of your yard that your horse has strangles, or especially you should tell other yards in your local area that you've got an outbreak of strangles at your yard. This will make sure that nobody from the yard will come to your yard, especially if you do things such as arena hire outs, or if you're going to go to if your yard runs competitions, or if they do any other activities at your yard. When your yard has a case of strangles, your yard needs to go into a yard lockdown. So this will mean there'll be no fields turnout, there'll be no sharing with others in the yard, such as if you share a tack room or a feed room, and it'll mean that there'll be no competitions run or no arena use or anything similar. All the horses that are tested positive for strangles should be quarantined far away from the healthy horses to prevent any risks of the disease or infection spreading. Another top tip is that when your horse has finished their isolation period, you should get them tested to make sure that their strangles has cleared up. That way you can get back out competing, hacking or doing whatever you love doing with your horse. Thank you for coming along to watch the Muckers Nation's Strangles Awareness video. I hope you enjoyed it and you learnt some tips along the way on how to prevent strangles from coming into your yard and how to deal with it if you have a case of strangles. I hope this helped. Thank you so much. We'll hope to see you soon. Stay tuned, as Mucker Nations are going to bring more videos to you soon. We're going to bring videos such as tutorials, top tips videos, and these tutorials will be like how to plait, bandage and other things to make you more successful in the industry, and other bits and bobs as well. Even bits that can help with your own horse if you have your own horse, or even at college if you're looking to boost up your knowledge or skills. Bye for now!